I've been sitting way too long. I was watching my friend's Discos and Based Apes stream. They do the weekly white pills right after the Sultans of Shadilay. Well, generally we try to end Sultans before. Some ash on the camera, sorry. Anyway, as I was saying, we generally try to end Sultans before they start their stream. Today we managed that. Just barely. I gotta take this thing off and adjust it. That's a bit better. Anyway, today I'm gonna need to move that cable. Unplug, replug, and oops, what am I hitting? Okay, bring that over here. Okay, let's keep it moving a little bit more. There we are. I don't think I'll need any of those clamps anyway. So let's tip this down so you can see what I'm doing. There we are. Oh, actually, yeah, lights. And yeah, I'm just wearing a pair of old lounge pants today. Which is probably a mistake because I always overheat when I wear long pants doing shit like this. But we'll see what happens. Now, did I just completely screw my straps up? I did. Good job, Jorj. Had to find myself some shirts with better collars. Got the apron strapped on so I can wear it properly. Anyway, I'm not seeing a lot of people yet, so I'm not surprised. If you guys decide to go 2 times speed from the beginning, then thank you, and make yourselves known in chat. So it is currently about 20 to 8 in Newfoundland. It was a shitty weather day, and we didn't have a lot of good weather, so I couldn't get outside, which just as well, because I spent most of the day inside on a computer. Anyway, streaming with the Sultans of Shadilay, which is my regular Saturday, and then doing a supporting job for my friends over at the aforementioned Weekly White Pills podcast on both Discordia 3052's channel and Based Ape. Let me just make sure live chat is working. Live chat, nobody here. Okay. So what I'm doing here, I am using a spoke shave, that's this tool, to take off a little more of the sapwood. I'm going to leave sapwood all the way around before I drill this time. I'm going to drill before I cut as well. And what I'm hoping is once I have a drill, I'll be able to sand this down or shape it down a little more. And hopefully then when I go to do the final shaping, because I won't have drilled out a second hole trying to meet the other one, which is difficult at best on a branch that has a twist in it. I will drill once I'm comfortable with the amount of sapwood I have left, which is going to be a little bit more on this side. And I do realize you guys can't really see what I'm doing very well. So I'm going to turn this piece a little bit. There we go. Sorry about the noise from the vise. And I apologize for coughing and clearing my throat so much, but I've spent a significant chunk of the day talking when I generally don't. It may surprise you to learn that when I'm not streaming, I spend a significant portion of my day silent, except for the occasional bit of talking to myself. Because, well, it's either me or God, and God doesn't seem to listen a lot of the time, so... Okay, I think I'm good there. I'm going to... Oof, I'm not loving that angle for drilling. So I'm going to try changing the angle again. See if I can get this a little bit further down. There's a twist at the about halfway through the other end of this. And I should be good to drill straight down here now. I will give you a noise warning again before I start cranking on this. So 3, 2, 1. Okay, that should be pretty solid. I need my drill. I see I've got at least one person watching the stream, so welcome, whoever that is. I'm going to move some of this stuff so that I can clean that off. For now, I'll put my sheen board over here. And my gloves there. That can get pushed down there. Cleaned off a little. You'll notice when I put the spoke shave down, I always try to put it down blade up. Yes, this is slightly more dangerous for you, for your hand, but it is far safer for the blade itself because this is a manual adjustment, and once I've got it set, it's very difficult to keep it or it's very important to keep it set where you want it. And all I'm doing here is just dumping this towel now that it's no longer useful. Shake that out. And when I'm done, before I finish cleaning up, I will be taking this towel outside and giving it a very, very thorough shaking out. There we go. That should be tight to the wall. Not as tight as I'd like it, so I'm going to loosen that up again, straighten that out, and that should be against the wall now. And I already brought my drill out. So, as before, I'm going to drill a pilot hole, and then I'm going to drill with the spade bit. The difference this time is I'm going to use a 3/16 spade bit, and if that turns out not to be a large enough gauge of a hole, I'm sorry, not a 3/16, 9/16. 5/8 is the one I used before, and it would still be perfectly acceptable for the final size. But because of the cracking last time, I don't want to take a chance. I'm going to use a smaller gauge, I think. That will depend on the files that I have available. And that means I have to go and get my file roll. That will go over there, that will go over there. Keep all the equipment together that belongs together. Push those to the side. Now, I think I don't. Well, shit. I thought I had a much wider round file, and I can't seem to find it. Huh. Well, that bites. I may have to use the 5/16 after all. Or the 5/8 rather. Let's see, how much is that going to take? That's going to take a substantial amount. I may have to go slightly to the side of the center and go there. Okay, well, these are no longer any use to me, so these are going to go back where they belong. And that noise was just me dropping a scraper. No big deal. So, I guess I'm using the 5/8. I don't really want to, but let's have a look here. I could, in fact, use the 3/4, but I don't think... Yeah, the 3/4 would work as well. I'm going to decide after I do the pilot hole whether I'm using 5/8 or 3/4. 3/4. Pilot bits. Actually, I think I have a longer pilot bit there. That will work. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to be jerry-rigging a little bit. I need this piece to fit one of the hexagonal ends of these. I want one that's going to be mostly big enough to get that down into. I think that should do it, I think. And of course, that's not a magnetic end on that. Okay, gonna give it a try. We'll see what happens. If I screw it up, I think I've got another piece I could use. Well, maybe I do. It's starting to run out of juniper now, which really sucks because I like that wood. Okay, well, nothing for it but to try it now. Actually, before I do that, okay, all the way up it is. Okay. So I'm done with the spoke shave for the time being. So I'll move that off to the side. This will be noisy. And of course, as before, the pulpwood at the very center is coming off. I need my shame board for the probe that I used to clean these bits. Now with this bit, unlike the last one, this is a soft, or appears to be a soft brassy bit. So I'm going to be a little more careful of the flutes on the sides of the bit, because that's where the actual cutting surfaces are. And there we are. That came off quite easily. Okay. Oh, I got it. Okay. That looks mostly clean. I think I'll take my chances with it as it is. Okay, I need to put the shame board where I can see it, so I can access it later. It's a bit loose, so you get put in a bit firmer. So do you. Okay. Let's clear this hole completely out. Okay. As you can see, there was about an inch of material at the bottom that hadn't come up with the bit originally. Get that turned so I can see it. and clean it. That should be, oh, not quite all of it. Okay, come on. There we are. Okay, at this point, I'm going to stop for just a second and check my chat. And let's see. Live chat. Oops, no, I don't want to hide messages. There we go. Hi, Kingdom. And Billy. How did they used to make flutes? Basically the same process I'm using, I think, where you basically would bore a hole. Now, the tool they were using that I saw in the video that was supposedly traditional flute making is basically a hand crank with a much different flute shape than these drill bits. And you're basically just twisting it out. I think what they were doing, I think they were doing it on fairly fresh wood. And somewhat differently than I'm doing it. I have to adapt my process because of my materials, and hopefully things will work out the way I expect them to. Hopefully. In any case, I'm ready to go a little bit deeper. So I want to see how much depth I have now, which is, oh, that was a mistake. Okay, let's cheat. There we are. Come here, you. Oh, I don't need to put that back in there yet. So, first set of depth I have is about to there, and I need to go about twice that. So, what I might do is take my 1/2 inch bit out of here. This is also a spade bit, it's just a little bit more aggressive, as you can see. And I'm going to use this bit first in order to get probably about as deep as this, so that this piece has the depth to get as far into this hole as I need it. So all I'm really doing is sinking it to the point where the actual cylinder makes contact. I need to walk that back over there a bit. There we go. And that should be more than deep enough to accommodate the end of this. Perfect. Okay, so now rig that together. Break this guy out. Now that's very hot, but because it's carbon steel, it doesn't seem to be as sticky. I do need to clean out the inside of that hole, though. Okay, so all I'm doing here is using my scratch-all point, which I've turned into a probe, to clean out the little bit of wood that's gathered on the inside edges of that hole. Mostly because I want to make sure it prevents what bit of rust might happen, and it'll help preserve the bit a little longer before I have to either replace it or get it sharpened. This is a cheap set, as is most everything I have, and because of that, I got a little bit of something in there. Because this is a cheap set, I will most likely replace it rather than try to get these bits sharpened. And that will go in that far. Oh, wrong way. And now that's grabbing. Good. Okay. Now, unfortunately, I have to pinch this bit because while this is a magnet in here, this is not a magnetic end. So it needs a little bit of care to get sinking. Well, I'm hoping that was the bit rotating. Okay, and the reason that happened is because I was using full power and had it in reverse, so these teeth open. And this isn't technically meant to be used with a power drill. And again, have to clean the flutes again. Let's see, anyone said anything else? Need a long drill, surely. That would be the better choice, yeah. The hole is there in that drill bit because that actually helps with expansion of the bit under heat and pressure. Should I have a longer drill bit? Absolutely. Do I have a longer drill bit? No. So I'm making do with what I do have. Which is probably part of the reason why this has been such a disappointing failure a couple of times. Now, can I get you locked in good and tight? That'll have to do. And of course I can't get anything to come up out of there. So I'm going to have to drill past some debris slowly. And as you can see, I have to, okay, that's not hot. That's good. I have to lead the drill bit back a little bit. Okay. That's where this won't come in handy. I should have another bit I can use for that. Yes. Or another grip, I should say. Now, that one should be big enough to fit around here. And I need it to unscrew. And I can tell you now, as much labor as this is, it's really giving me newfound respect for the guys who actually used to build these years ago. You were asking about how they would have been made years and years ago. The traditional tools are basically the same as what I'm using. Difference being that where I'm using a power drill, they would have had a hand drill, which would have been basically a handheld device, usually cross-sectioned like a T-bar. And, okay, this is getting very gummed up. That's probably a good sign, at least I hope. That goes there again. Okay, I can see the bottom of the hole this time, so that's looking good. Not the bottom of what I'm drilling into, but the bottom of the larger hole that I drilled to allow the armature in. And of course I discovered another problem. Come on. Come on. Okay, so what I've discovered is that the pilot bit, because it has this enlarged collar on it, isn't sinking past that point. I need this again. So because of that, I'm just going to dispense with everything else, and there we go. It's still gummed up a little bit. I'm going to dispense with the rest of the drill bits, and I'm going to go to the, should I do the 3/8, or the 3/4 rather, or the 5/8? I think I'll go with the 3/4 because that's likely to be easier to control. Yeah, I don't think I should have done that 1/2 inch thing. Oh well, what's done is done now, unfortunately. So, we're stuck with what we've got. That comes out. That goes back in there. And this stuff will go back up on the wall when I'm absolutely sure I'm done with it. At this point, I'm not. Of course not. Why would you? There we are. Okay. So, that's still really hot and significantly gummed up, so I'm going to let that sit outside of the case. And I'm going to take a chance on the 5/8, or 3/4 rather. And hopefully this will work out well. Okay, that's throwing significant numbers of chips up toward my face. So, on with the glasses. Let's see if anybody said anything else before I go back to this. T-bar, okay, how did they make the drill? You'd have to ask a blacksmith, actually. Number 11 is the best. Oh, wait, wrong podcast. Hi, Bleach. Yeah. And I am letting the drill bit wander a little bit. And if you look at it, oh, let me cover that light. You can see that it does oscillate slightly anyway, because, well, low quality tools. But, yes, on careful re-examination, I did decide that number 11 was definitely the better choice. I think I'm doing pretty much okay with this. The problem I'm going to have is that I'm going to have to reuse that extension again to get this to go all the way in as far as I want it to. So, noise warning for a minute. And I'm seeing a crack already. So I've already screwed this one completely up. Well, shit. So, unfortunately, this one's a failure as well. Which means I don't think I'm going to be able to finish a flute after all. I don't think any of the pieces I have remaining are sufficiently straight at the same length. No. Okay, so that's been an adventure and failure. I might as well finish the cut. Yeah. So you can see I blew out the side here. Let me just turn that so you can see what I'm talking about. You can see I blew the side out of it here. Partly because it just wasn't, yeah, there was a twist. So I don't know if I ever would have been able to get these right. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to disappoint my buddy Cass and tell him that I simply can't make him a flute yet. I'll try this again. Don't get me wrong. I'm not satisfied with failure. Come out of there. So you can see I taped these 3 pieces together so I didn't have to try and juggle all 4 pieces at once. Well, I'm really disappointed in this, but it is what it is. And learning process. Okay, so I'm going to sit down and have a talk with my chat for a little bit, and then I'm going to go and drown my sorrows in a cup of coffee. Well, then I'm going to clean up and then go drown my sorrows in a cup of coffee. Give me just a minute. And of course, because adaptation and overcoming is something I'm quite used to, I'm already looking at other things I could use to try and make a flute. For example, a piece of 2x4. Well, it's a piece of 1x1 at this point, but it's originally 2x4. Let's see what you guys are saying here. T-bar. Yeah, honestly, as far as making the drill, you would have to ask a blacksmith. Reinforcing the sides, actually, what I should have done, it's burst, it's done. But what I should have done was leave all of the sapwood on and do the drilling first. Can't see. Oh, there you go. That was the top where I was drilling, and that's where it wandered out. Blew it out pretty bad. What else? Badly enough that it's, yeah, Billy, what I should have done, if I'd been thinking ahead a little bit more, is not take any of the sapwood off at all, and just leave it. Bleach says he could go for a coffee or 5. I hear ya. Definitely use a beer myself to drown black pills. You know, maybe I've gotten a callus on my brain from all the black pills, or maybe it's just my aging cynicism, but I find that each week is a little easier to deal with. Just alter that angle a bit more since I'm sitting back. How we're planning to get all the way through. Well, I wasn't going to go, I'll just show you what I was going to do. I had removed the sapwood down to about here, and of course I'd made it too thin, as you can see obviously from here. And actually I'm going to check something real quick, hopefully without giving myself a splinter. But as you can see, with that sealed, with my hand covering that hole, the light does not come in. Yeah, you don't see any real amount of light in there. But with the hole uncovered, you can see that the sides are actually fairly smooth, which means they were probably not going to need much work on the inside, which is good since I thought I had a round file and I don't. Anyway, the plan was to cut all the way down to about here and then slice and just turn this into a short flute. Not going to happen. So I have a few things I need to add to my list of stuff I need. One of which is an extended Chinese claim to have invented a flute. Oh, it'd be incredibly easy with bamboo. All you need is a drill bit that you can get down there. Another option that I could have done would have been to take a piece of the juniper. This is pretty straight. Oh, this is my veiny one. But what I could have done, what was suggested to me, was to cut it in half. The problem with that is I don't have a bandsaw. If I had a bandsaw, that would have been a viable option. Because all I would have had to have done would be to sand down or use the spoke shave to get one flat side that I could get against the fence of the bandsaw, and then cut roughly in the center. Then I could have hollowed it out with any number of tools. Get out. Chinese claim to have invented everything at some point. Yeah. I think that's Billy said it was my veiny one. Yeah. Yeah, this is the one with the big ridge on the bottom of it. I suppose I could still do that. But oh. At this point, I have to admit to being pretty demoralized that I've burned through all of the juniper that I had that was appropriate for making something like a flute. I do have more, and I think what I might do is make something. I might even be able to use part of this. Depends on how bad that crack is. No. That crack runs pretty much the entire length of from here to the top. I was thinking I could use that for wind chimes, but that isn't going to work. So what I'm going to have to do is, if I decide to make wind chimes, yeah, I'm going to have to basically drill it first, remove the sapwood that I want off of it, shape it down the way I want it, and basically then section it into the lengths I want. And of course, each length will give you a different tone when it bounces against the others. Gluing it back together. That was actually one of my issues as well. I would think that gluing would remove a certain amount of resonance. Our plan to get all the way through. Chinese flute, weenie, gluing, resonance. Yeah, I knew what you meant. Bleach. I'm assuming that was an autocorrect. Speech to text is a funny thing sometimes too. Need to line the hole up perfectly, drill further down and very slowly bore it out. Yeah. I think part of the problem I have, taping and glue, no, it's not gonna work to fix that. Not what I've done. If I were to section it in half, that would work. But at this point, what I'm thinking is a significant part of the problem is the fact that it's very dry. Had I been doing this with fairly fresh wood, fairly green wood, it wouldn't be a problem because the fibers would have flex and a lot more moisture in them, which is probably another bonus of working with ancient hand tools. You don't have to worry as much about, say, electric shock. Yeah. I wonder, I should be able to find a few more branches. Might have to do a bit of hiking, which would give me an excuse to take my axe with me. But I'm not 100% sure about the legality of harvesting wood because most of what's country close by is most likely crown land or belongs to the town. I'm reasonably sure that it wouldn't be an issue, but I will have to check into that as well. Yeah, it's kind of depressing to end up at this point, but it is what it is. Yeah, lining the hole up perfectly would have helped, but that's part of the reason for the pilot hole. Piece of wood has to be straight. Yeah, certainly straighter than what it was, but I think the biggest problem is that I was using very dry wood, very seasoned wood. Like, you have to realize this stuff is, it's been sitting so long that the few bits of sap are beginning to essentially crystallize. And that's generally a sign that the wood inside the bark is dry enough to make things with. What am I looking at? Start with a bigger straight piece of wood, firewood basically. No. Part of the problem is I'm a cabinet maker and we're trained to work with dry wood that's been seasoned. A wild idea, if you took all the damaged sections and they had straight green, could you cobble together a Franken flute? Potentially, but I'm not going to bother with that. I think it might be simpler just to go and harvest a few more pieces. Find some that are very, very straight. And another benefit of that is rather than using juniper for that, if I can find a few pieces of alder, or you guys might know it better as mountain, what is it? Mountain ash, I think is one of its names. We call it alder because of the way it grows. Because the soil here isn't great, you tend to get a lot of really small shoots rather than any particularly large ones. So if I could find a few pieces like that are, yeah, probably 2 inches, inch and a half or so in diameter. Basically, they had to be about twice the size of my thumb across. I should be able to make something out of that. Finding it straight is going to be a challenge. Could you get a fat straight one, drill a hole down the middle, shave off the outside? Yeah, that's what I should have done, to be honest. But again, now I've got a little bit of, as unfortunate as this failure is, now I've got a little bit of other knowledge. Uh, Fat straight one. I see. I am a fat straight one, but that's beside the point. um, let's not degenerate too much. But the the two things I need are straighter wood, greener straighter wood, and an extension spade bit, which I should be able to find fairly easily. Most of the stores around here will probably have one. If not, I can try and scavenge one somewhere. Fortunately for me, it's still yard sale season, so I might be able to find some old stuff. And the other fortunate thing about that, straighter wood, but the other fortunate thing about that is because there's a lot of older folks in this area, a lot of the time they're moving out of their houses and moving into seniors' retirement cottages. So they can't take a lot of stuff. So generally, I have been fortunate to go to yard sales and find some very good tools. Trying to think now if any of the tools I have out here are yard sale finds. Only one, and that is my marbles chisel. Get over there, you. And the name marbles may not mean much to you guys, but it's a fairly well-known brand. There, marbles. Now, this chisel obviously has been pretty abused. It needs, sorry about the flash, it needs quite a bit of work. You can see there's a pretty big chip right there. And even so, this is still one of the sharpest chisels I've ever seen. Okay, I'll take the veiny guy. Make sure I've got the angle right. And this is basically shaving this right down, which is really what you want with a chisel. You don't want to have to hammer the back end of the chisel. Yeah, and you can see that that's made a nice shiny. Let's see if I can get the angle right. Yeah, you can kind of see the sheen on that edge on the camera. If I do a little more, there we are. If I dig just a little bit deeper, well, I run into the problem that the chisel skips off. There we are. So you can see where I've made the cut, and if I get the angle manipulated right, you'll see the shine from that cut. You might only see it for a moment before it disappears, if you see it at all. But needless to say, that is the smoothest part of this piece now. Yeah, that's not working. The wood is too light, just like my skin. But yeah, this is definitely a good quality chisel that was neglected quite a lot. It's still got the correct angle. You can see that, if I get the angle just right, you can see that the flat is offset from the handle just a little bit. So that way you be not contacting the wood with your hand when you're slicing. Anyway, that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. I'll put that there until I put it away. I'll put the blade pointing the other way though. So yeah, that was a yard sale find, and while it does need significant, and I had to grab it again to show you, you can see it's corroded on the back. That's because this isn't stainless. This is most likely a high carbon. It's got a few, oh, there's a couple of big scratches in it, which is probably where the chip came from. Someone probably tried to chisel past a nail. That happens a lot with anyone who's using reclaimed wood. I try to avoid reclaimed wood for anything that I'm doing that I don't know the exact path. It's probably tool steel. Yeah, that would be a carbon steel. Get the primitive tool. Which way did Europeans make actual flutes? They had basically the same way I did. They harvest wood. I think, again, one of my big problems is that I'm not using green wood. and they basically have what amounts to a T-bar, which is just a little crossbar, and a bore, basically. But the shape of the blade itself is a little different. It's a spiral bore, so the first cut goes in very tight, and as you're twisting the bore, the cut gets progressively deeper and wider to whatever diameter of the uh, drill head, basically. Um, and I imagine at a certain point the wood is easily removable. I don't know. I've never worked with one of those tools. Um, but if I spot one anywhere, I guarantee you I'll have one. I really don't want to have to go looking on Amazon, because that's both all I can afford and, unfortunately, tends to be fairly low quality stuff that I can't afford. Um, Getting the thing straight must be a skill. Absolutely. Even drilling a straight line with a power drill is a skill. You'll see a lot of power drills now are being sold with. I think that one actually has one. No. Okay. You'll see a lot of drills now. The higher end ones will come with a plumb level in the back, a bubble level. Voice to text is fine. Having worked with a similar tool in the past, the best modern equivalent would be a hand auger. I think that's probably the proper term for it. Though the bit is very different. Voice to text is fun. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You want to try it with a Newfoundland accent when you're trying to get something out quickly so that you can hit that send button before the topic changes. I had loads of fun on Disco's stream there earlier. Well, you did too, actually. You had problems getting CCR to come out right. I don't know why that was. I ended up with, I think it was CCS or something the first time I put it in. But yeah, at this point, it is what it is. So the next live stream I do may be done from the woods. So you guys might actually get a show of me doing something, and it depends on what's acceptable under the law, under the current heat warning, things like that. But if I'm allowed, I will be having an open fire. I'll probably pick up a pack of Italian sausages or something and roast over them. I'm using the YouTube app on my tablet at the moment, actually. And I can easily take my tablet with me. But more like than not, what I'll end up doing if I do a live stream from somewhere out in the woods, I'll probably take my phone, because my phone actually has its own independent internet source. Okay. I'm guessing you double sent a message there, Bleach? Looked like you pulled one out and it looked like it was both LOL. Oh, yeah, when using speech to text, not text to speech. It's the other way around. It's handy for me because I have very big thumbs, and if I'm using a tiny little phone, it's a real pain in the ass. Even using this thing, the tablet, it's basically pecking. And unfortunately, I dropped my tablet a couple of days ago now, and I seem to have... I'm not sure why it doesn't happen with other programs, but Discord won't allow me to use speech to text. My phone's internal speech to text is a special kind of stupid. Yeah, I tend to use Android devices because, well, Apples are too expensive. But the few times I've tried to use speech to text on an Apple device, oh, I'm very careful to make sure everything's turned off. And set up in such a way that when it isn't turned off, it still doesn't record unless I tell it it can. Lost my train of thought again now. But yeah, you guys might be lucky enough to see me building an open fire and having a weenie roast, or a mug up as we call it here in Newfoundland. What's today? Saturday. I have my stream tomorrow. Nothing to do on Monday except my video. So I'll probably, if the weather is good on Monday, and it's expected to be, you guys will probably see me struggling through a hike. That'll be fun. I don't have anything to do with Alexa. I don't have anything to do with Siri. As I was saying, Siri can't understand a fucking thing I say. And the Google Assistant needs some training. Other than one device I've encountered, none of my devices will respond when I say, "Hey Google." If they do, I immediately turn that shit off. How many listening devices in the house? I have technically I have 2 phones because I have an old phone that I haven't gotten rid of yet. I was using that on my stream. You can understand me because human comprehension is far better than AI. Especially, and no offense to Bleach, but especially American trained AI. Because, yeah, there's something weird about it. With speech to text, I have to speak very clearly and try to enunciate as much as possible in order for the device to understand me. And the problem with that is, when I speak like that, and there's been a few times I've had to speak to people like that, I really feel like I'm patronizing them. And I even stopped at one point in a conversation with one woman and said, "I'm sorry, am I speaking too slowly? Do I seem to be patronizing you? Because I'm not trying to, I just want to make sure you understand what I'm saying." And her response was, "No, you're understandable." Basically, it was just understandable. Bleach is an American, yes. That's why I said no offense to Bleach when I started talking shit about American trained phones. Okay, I'm gonna have a lot of cleanup in here tonight. Which, yeah, that'll probably get done tonight. Actually, it probably won't. I have to start reading James Craig's book. He was nice enough to send me the copies of his first 2 books. So I'm going to start with Ship of Fools, which is his second book, because the other one, Blackstone, I believe it's called. Sorry, the title of the book is Faceless. And, damn Yankee carpetbaggers. Bleach is American. No, Billy, I'm the Yankee damnedest doodlist guy here. That was speech to text, wasn't it? Because that fucked up doodlist really badly. Yeah, I'm going to be starting to read Ship of Fools tonight. And I'm saving Faceless for later because it strikes me as more of an urban fantasy sort of deal. And that's my jam. So what I'm doing is reading the one I don't know that I'll like for the genre before I read the one that I know I like the genre of. And I will be doing reviews. Doodlist. Shouldn't that be Doodliest? Doodly oodly? Damn Flanders! Anyway, guys, coming up on an hour here, and I'm horrendously disappointed. I had really hoped I could show you guys, at the very least, a tube that I could blow across and make a noise out of. Come to think of it. With that big hole. No. Oh well. Anyway, I'm going to cut it off here. I need to clean up and sort out my tools, put stuff away, and then go and do some reading. I'll probably be in Discord now and again tonight. No guarantees. And, yeah. Thanks, Bleach. You have a good one, too. Anyway, folks, that's going to be it for me. I hope you're having a good day. I hope you continue to have good days. And rise again until lambs become lions. Bye-bye.